When you're a child and you don't get any love. When there is no love.
When you get this feeling that you can't explain. This feeling that's inside you, but you can't explain. You don't know what it is. You can't say it's lack of love. Because you don't have those words. You only have a feeling. But you don't have those words.
Those words that say nobody loves me.
I
am unloved.
And all you have is this feeling. And the feeling hurts. You feel hurt because you can't explain. You feel hurt because there is no love. And you're trapped in your feelings. Trapped in your feelings of hurt, frustration and lack of love. The lack of love that makes you want to hit out! Clean house.
Tidy house.
Spotless. Nothing out of place.
Clean house. Tidy house. Spotless.
Nothing out of place.
Clean house. Tidy house. Spotless.
Nothing out of place.
Except
me. I can't seem to please them. I can't win for losing.
My mother hated me. I hated me.
My sister was an angel. Never put a foot wrong. Always clean.
Always tidy.
A perfect child.
A joy to behold.
A spotless, squeaky clean hall floor. My muddy footprints trampled from school.
My mother's anger.
My mother's annoyance.
I would have walked on the ceiling if I could, like Spider-Man. But I expect the ceiling was squeaky clean too.
My father was an actor. A professional pretender.
Pretended to be a father, pretended to have feelings.
Pretended enthusiasm. Demanded perfection.
Demanded perfection!
100% do it right. Do it the best.
Be brainy,
Be sporty.
be talented,
Be good, well-mannered, polite, know it all, do it all. 100% do it right, do it the best.
I cried. I would cry. I would always cry. And I failed.
For my professional pretending father.
And his daughter, the apple of his eye.
Who could do no wrong.
Clumsy. I was clumsy. I was a clumsy child. Knocked things, broke things, a clumsy child.
Always falling over, breaking things, trying to avoid running into things, swerving round things, trying not to be clumsy.
Trying to walk through the gap in the doorframe instead of into the doorframe. Trying to stop my body moving before it was too late.
But it was always too late. I was a clumsy child.
Clumsy. Never a day would go by that I wasn't walking into things, tripping up and banging and crashing my way through the house. It worried me. It drove my parents crazy. Fidgeting was another habit I couldn't seem to shake off, which annoyed my parents intensely. Once, my dad got so mad about it that he tied me down to a chair for a while. Strangely, it didn't stop me feeling fidgety, it just stopped me being fidgety.
And the cupboard. The cupboard under the stairs. I was never abused. Never what you call an abused child. Not by any stretch of the imagination. But there was the cupboard. The cupboard under the stairs. Dark, silent, claustrophobic. Nothing to do, nothing to say, nothing to be but lifeless. Invisible, nowhere, nothing. Sitting in the cupboard till I
Learn to behave yourself and show some respect! In the cupboard. Under the stairs. An eye for an eye. Tooth for a tooth punishment. My parents were great believers in
See how you like it.
eye for an eye. Tooth for a tooth. I was never an abused child. Not abused. Everything I got I deserve. Except the cupboard. The cupboard under the stairs. I never locked anyone in the cupboard. But my parents did.
I remember when I was about 8, and me and my sister went to stay with some family friends for the week, probably to get us out of the way while the moving was taking place. My family friends had a son called Andrew, who was a couple of years older than me, I think. And when no one was around, he used to pinch and punch me. His parents wouldn't believe me. I asked my mum where London was, and she said it was 100 miles away. I was really worried about staying with these family friends and Andrew. 100 miles is a long way to run when you're only 8. I remember being very relieved that there wasn't a cupboard under the stairs in our new flat in London. But then I found about the broom cupboard, which was even smaller.
You want to hit out because of this lack of love. So you hit out because of the lack of love. You hit out at the people around you, the adults around you. The adults around you when you were a child. Because when you were a child, the adults have the power. The adults have the power and they know everything. They know everything, so they know your feelings. Adults understand feelings. They can explain your feelings because adults have the power to explain your feelings.
My invisible friend. A voice in my head. I could talk to her. I played with her. We understood each other. She was reliable. She came when I think I was about 4 or 5. Who knows? But by the age of 7, she was always with me, chattering away, telling stories, poking fun at family and visitors, making me laugh at all times, at good times, boring times, embarrassing times, and awkward times. And I giggled. And my parents wondered about me and punished me for being
bad-mannered, impolite and stupid.
I didn't give my invisible friend a name till I was about 8. I don't know why. I don't know why she was a girl either. She just was, and she was nameless till we moved to London. I hated London. I hated the school I had to go to because they beat me up because I talked funny. And I hated the flat we moved to because it was smaller, and so was the cupboard. I hated the street we moved to because it was snobby and stuck up. But I loved my lady. My lady lived down the road from us, and she was always pottering around her front garden with her dog Benji.
Oh, hello, Benji!
Stopping to talk to people as they passed by, including me. She called me
Scallywag
and smiled and spoke nicely to me. She made me feel special, and I loved her, even though I didn't know what
Scallywag
meant. But I knew it was a nice name because she also called Benji a scallywag, and I could tell that she loved him very much, even though she also called him a
Monster.
horror.
terror. I would spend hours sometimes going up and down the road so that my lady could say,
Hello, Scallywag.
and I could say hello back. Sometimes she would say,
Off on your travels, Scallywag.
and sometimes she would say,
Jaunting again, Scallywag.
One thing she never asked was why I was always walking up and down the road. One day, I was trying to make my mind up if I was travelling or jaunting when I bumped into my next door neighbours, the Bannermans. They had been talking to my lady, and as I passed, I overheard Mr. Bannerman say, Silly old cow, isn't she?
Well, I was angry. I was so upset and too confused. How could he say that about my lady? About my lovely lady? Couldn't stop, couldn't smile. Just had to run, just had to pass her. Just had to run to my place and sit in my place. And I sat in my place. And my invisible friend sat in my place. And we fumed about the Bannermans. And my invisible friend said,
Something's got to be done.
I agreed, but didn't know what. So we sat in silence for a while, until my invisible friend said that if they were going down the road,
Which they were.
then that must mean that they were going out. And if they were going out,
Which they must have been.
then that must mean that they're not in. And if they're not in,
Which they weren't.
then
You should put a brick through the Bannerman's window and see when I can't do it because I'm invisible. Then you have to do it.
which I didn't want to, because it was wrong, and I was scared. That was when we started arguing. And my invisible friend said that if I didn't put a brick through the bannerman's window, she was going to leave and never speak to me again.
My invisible friend, a voice in my head. I could talk to her. I played with her. We understood each other. She was reliable. She threatened to leave. She said she would go. I was only 8. I didn't realise what was happening. What was just beginning. I was just scared at that point. Of loneliness. I didn't realise what was happening. That was the starting point. That's when I began to lose control. So finally, I did agree. And finally, I did put a brick through the bannerman's window. After making sure first that my father was still out and my mother was engrossed in her hoovering. So, I threw a brick through the bannerman's window. After I'd thrown the brick, I waited 5 or 10 minutes to see if the sky would fall in. Or even worse, my father would appear.
But he didn't, and it didn't, and everything was okay even though I'd done a wrong thing. And also, I felt happy and triumphant, and I giggled uncontrollably for ages, and my invisible friend giggled too, and she told me about all the fun things that we're going to do in the future. I asked her if they were wrong things as well, and she just said,
Wait and see.
so, from that moment, that's when I decided, when all is said and done, my invisible friend was really a monster, a horror, a terror, and I named her Benji.
One day, my mother said,
You just broke that picture!
What?
You just broke it!
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did. I saw you.
No. It was an accident.
No, it wasn't. I saw you.
It was an accident.
You picked it up and threw it on the floor.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
It was an accident.
No, it wasn't.
Benji did it.
Oh, don't be so stupid.
But she did.
You're too old for all that Benji stuff now.
I was too old for imaginary friends. But Benji was still with me.
And even so, I got the blame and the cupboard for telling lies.
And so it started.
Slowly.
A little bit at a time.
A little more each day.
Further and further away.
Making it more difficult to understand.
Making it more difficult to try.
Everybody was on that side.
Parents,
Sister.
teachers.
Everybody.
Benji and I were on this side.
My lady I could still reach, still connect with. But then
She left.
No understanding. No communication. Just me. And Benji. In our own little world. And all of them in theirs. Miles apart. And no bridges.
The only time our worlds collided was when Benji did something wrong and I got the blame for it. At school, I had to see a child psychiatrist. What an idiot.
Benji loved words like outlaw,
Hooligan,
gangster,
delinquent,
vandal. She thought they sounded good.
romantic, exciting! Mr. Kent, he was my woodwork teacher, and a bastard. By now, I was 13 and hated by everybody, including Mr. Kent. It was about a year since my lady left, and Benji and I had been on and off at war since then. I was at war with Benji, and everybody was at war with me. In woodwork, I was making a toast rack.
Mr. Kent said it was crap.
I was proud of my toast rack.
Mr. Kent said I was an idiot.
Mr. Kent said I was useless.
Mr. Kent said I was a worthless specimen of human being.
Mr. Kent went on and on and on! Till Benji jumped out and threw a hammer at him.
All night, it was a long night. It was dark, and then it was dawn. All night, a long night. I'm awake, I'm sort of awake or something. Benji won't shut up. Benji won't stop talking. Benji won't stop telling me my dad's gonna kill me when he finds out. She's going on and on. Remember when you threw the stones at those boys? To how he threw them at you. Remember when you kicked your sister? To how he kicked you. An eye for an eye. A tooth for a tooth. Remember when you broke the radio and how he broke your bike? Remember when you trashed the living room and he trashed your bedroom? An eye for an eye. A tooth for a tooth. I never did any of those things. They weren't me. It was Benji.
I can't think!
Shut up, please!
Leave me alone! When he finds out, what's he gonna do?
Think about
He's
it.
gonna kill you if he finds out.
He's going to kill you.
Unless you can
Unless
first.
you do it first.
To save yourself.
To defend yourself.
Eye for an eye.
Defend yourself!
Two for a two. When he finds out.
What are you gonna do?
I can't think anymore. I don't know what's happening to me, and Benji just won't shut up! I don't know how. I don't know why. I was just there. In the bedroom. Hammer in my hand. I don't know how. I just don't know what's going on anymore. And that's when I did it. I hit him. I don't know how. I don't know why. I don't know what happened. I just did it. Then he woke up.
He woke up. I hit him.
I caught him on the head and he woke up.
I hit him. It hurt. I dropped the hammer. I turned and left the room. Left the flat.
I didn't know much about mental health or psychiatrists or anything. Only what I'd heard or read or watched on television.
Lunatic, loony, mad, insane. Lunatic, loony, mad, insane. Lunatic, loony, mad, insane. Lunatic, loony, mad, insane.
And then I had to see one. I had to see a psychiatrist. Not for hitting my dad, but for hitting
Lunatic, loony, mad, insane!
myself.
I was scared. I was scared because the psychiatrist was asking me questions. I was scared that if I answered, he'd think I was a loon and send me to the snake pit. First, you hammered your woodwork teacher. Then, you hammered your father. Then, you hammered yourself. Me. I'm a murderer. I wanted to tell them it wasn't like that. It wasn't how they were saying. It wasn't 1, 2, 3, hammer, 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 like they were going on about. It wasn't like that. It was different. And that's when they asked,
Why did you choose the hammer?
I had to say over and over, I never chose the hammer. I didn't choose the hammer. I never chose the hammer. The weeks passed and the time went round.
my parents slowly stopped punishing me. And my parents slowly stopped criticising me. And my parents slowly stopped nagging me. And my parents slowly stopped.
My sister only called me a loony. when nobody else was around, and when the therapist asked if things were getting better,
I said yes.
and nobody asked about Benji, and the weeks passed, and the time went round.
Don't worry about it, it's gonna be okay.
No,
It's fine, everybody gets angry sometimes, it's natural.
no, you don't understand.
We're just letting off some steam, that's all.
No, it isn't.
It's Benji. And I told them. I told them everything. I told them about Benji, who she was, and I told them about my parents. About how I loved my parents and how they hated me. About how they were always demanding perfection and I never lived up to that. And I told them I stopped taking my medication weeks ago. And they listened. And I told them about my lady. About how I loved my lady and how I missed her. And about how I still didn't know her name. And I spoke to them. I spoke to them for hours. And they listened.
He listened. He listened and never once called me a loony. He listened and never said that I was too old for an imaginary friend. He listened and never said I shouldn't have stopped taking my medication. He listened, and when it started to become garbled and didn't make sense, he listened, but just told me to stop and speak slower, because he wanted to listen, because he wanted to understand. And so I told him.
When you're a child and you don't get any love, when there is no love,
When you get this feeling that you can't explain. This feeling that's inside you, but you can't explain. You don't know what it is. You can't say it's lack of love. Because you don't have those words. You only have a feeling. But you don't have those words.
Those words that say nobody loves me.
I am a love.